Now, I know while driving through large puddles like the one I'm standing in here right now might seem like fun, but it can be extremely dangerous because you never know how deep these puddles can get. In fact, this one was a lot deeper than I expected. After that big news, many people are probably wondering this morning, does Montana's Democratic presidential primary still matter? It does, and here's why. Now, before I get into telling you how to get into today's event, I just want to show you really quick where I'm standing right now. Staged over here, there will be 4 metal detectors that they will be funneling about 4,500 people through. We're out here standing in line at the Bernie Sanders rally, and let me tell you, this line has grown. It's probably doubled since the last time we talked to you. I've been chasing this chase all across the city this morning, and what we know is that there are 2 armed suspects in this Chevy Traverse. Now, when all is said and done, this could be a landmark case that determines who has access to public records at a public university. Heidi, I'm standing here in the parking lot of Opportunity Bank in Missoula, where here last night, just after 10:30, authorities arrested one of those escapees, and this all started around 3:30 this morning after they robbed a casino, then hijacked a car with a family traveling from Washington State inside of it. They made it out just in the nick of time before flames burst through their front door, and as he described it, melted the blinds away. Some details on what's going on out here. I'm just going to read those to you because it's brand new information to me just as it's coming to you. Will, Heidi, local news sources in Southern California are reporting that over 1,200 firefighters are now fighting the blaze that's blown up near the coast. If you do live on the south side of Flathead Lake, you can expect to see this plume of smoke hanging around for the next several days. All right, so we're about to go look through the fire safety house to see if we can spot any potential fire hazards inside. Come on in.
Our Montana MacLachlan's been following the story since it began and tailed deputies during the chase.
A family from Lake Stevens, Washington, caught in the crossfire of armed robbery, carjacking, and a hostage situation.
There's a husband and wife, at least one child, and a mother-in-law.
It all started when 2 suspects held Dino's casino employees at gunpoint. Workers say they took money from the safe, then sped off in one stolen car, ditched it, and found another car with a family inside. Moments later,
that was a shot. Somebody may have taken a shot.
Gunshots.
Okay, it's confirmed. Both males are armed.
Law enforcement tailed the car until speeds got too high and dangerous. I barely had a second to catch this video.
Tell them to stop the car and let everybody else out.
It's only willing to let one kid out right now.
That's the hijacked vehicle driving away after dropping off the first hostage, a 12-year-old boy. A 15-year-old girl and her grandmother were released a few blocks away, but the armed men held on to the parents.
It was rough on them to let their children out and have their children give them kisses goodbye, not know if they were going to see them again.
After a nearly hour-long chase, they got away. Then the abandoned vehicle was later spotted near Evero Hill.
And it was around 5:20 this morning that the parents were reportedly on Highway 93 North.
The parents were safe, but there was no sign of the suspects.
We believe were ultimately picked up at some point by an accomplice.
Deputies warned residents to stay inside and brought in special reinforcements. And canines searched the area. It all led back to the main road.
We're very sure that they were making arrangements to have that done while traveling up to that area.
Now, authorities aren't sure where they could be headed. In Missoula County, Montana MacLachlan, NBC Montana.
2 men robbed a Missoula casino at gunpoint and took a Seattle area family hostage during a high-speed chase.
Yeah, Montana MacLachlan standing by in the newsroom now with their incredible story. Montana?
Well, Heidi, I traveled to Seattle and sat down with the mother who was inside of that vehicle. Her oldest daughter hadn't heard the full story until this interview and couldn't hold back her tears. Here is the mother's full recount of what happened that morning. She's all smiles now, but Rebecca Jensen is still dealing with the trauma.
You can't even put into words how this feels or how do we respond.
She never expected that a road trip from Washington to Colorado
There's a husband and wife, at least one child, and a mother-in-law.
would turn into a nightmare.
What his intent is, but nobody...
2 armed gunmen took her and her family hostage.
That was scary as heck. I'm not going to deny it.
The Jensens had stopped at Dino's casino off Reserve to get gas.
And then my son was catnapping and he woke up and he's like, Mom, I need to go to the bathroom. I'm like, go ahead, Dad's in there. When he went in, he was met with a gun to his face. And about that time I looked up and my husband's like this walking through the store and I'm like, OMG.
The suspects released the father and son moments later. They ran out and called 911.
And Robert had no more finished giving them the description of my vehicle when the doors opened to my car and there they were.
The suspects had shown up, guns in hand, and forced their way inside.
Tell them to stop the car and let everybody else out.
Cops on their tail, the family of 5 was taken hostage in a 2-hour-long high-speed chase through
Only
Missoula.
willing to let one kid out right now.
Jensen said her first thought was to get her kids, ages 12 and 14, out.
The main suspect told me that they were going to grab him by his hair and put a gun to his head to show the cops that he was serious. My mom said, "No, you're not," and pulled him out the other side of the car.
Her son, daughter, and mother-in-law were let go.
And then he walked around to give us hugs. And when he was hugging my husband inside the car, he said, "Kiss your parents goodbye."
But the suspects refused to release the parents. After speeds reached over 100 miles an hour, and the suspects shot at officers,
Okay, it's confirmed. Both males are armed.
law enforcement lost track of them for about 45 minutes until the parents turned up on Highway 93.
The only time I think I ever felt like I was going to die was when we were up on Sweetgrass Lane.
Rebecca says the suspects arranged for a pickup, but before they walked off, Rebecca and her husband pleaded for their lives.
The two were conversing and they're like, "So what do we do with these two?" And then after that it was dead silence for about 15 minutes, and that's when we decided to grab the keys, start the car, and drive off.
In the light of day, bullet holes in her dashboard still make that harrowing morning a reality.
You never imagine in a million years this would ever happen to you. You know, most people that want your car, they just kick you out and take your car. They don't take you hostage. As long as I'm busy, I don't think about it, but if I'm in a quiet room just kind of mellowing, I start to cry a little bit because I realize how serious it was.
For now, the Jensens are just trying to get back to normal life.
Are you both done? We gotta go.
Near Seattle, Montana MacLachlan, NBC Montana. About 45 minutes out of Missoula, real estate broker Teresa Mondale takes me down a windy, dusty road. In the middle of a thick, remote forest stands your average modern-day cabin.
They're looking to find a place to get away.
But it's not just any Montana wilderness home. It's completely self-sustainable.
Like the clients that are looking for a place to be in case there ever is some kind of emergency that they need to get out of a large city. But meanwhile, they're just going to use it as a family getaway, their vacation.
Teresa specializes in this kind of survivalist real estate.
For some people, of course, it's their guns and ammo. Where can I hide? A lot of that.
She says some clients just want to leave a small environmental footprint, but others are prepping for something a little more.
They can build bunkers if that's what's wanted.
Or something they could survive on for years.
Not being dependent on someone to sew your clothes, to prepare your food, to be able to get your water.
Collected rainfall for water, heat, electricity, this home runs entirely on its own. The wires from these solar panels are routed into a battery bank inside that stores all the energy you might need to survive until you're ready to use it.
As they say, if everything went down, whether for whatever reason, within a week in a big city, people are going to be breaking into your homes. They're not going to be after your technology. They're going to be after your food and water, and if you have any weapons. If we're talking defensibility, this gives you the ability to see who's coming in your driveway, who's climbing up the hill behind you.
Sustainable, survivalist, they go hand in hand. Whether you're prepping for the worst or simply want some peace and quiet. In Missoula County, Montana MacLachlan, NBC Montana.
Now, Teresa says the increased interest comes from buyers wanting to relocate for the natural surroundings and the environment, and occasionally they're escaping fears of an uneasy socio-political climate. We'll be back after a break.